Hello, friends. It's Angela here. I'm so excited that you're back with me for week 7. We've been going hard for 7 weeks out of 12 so far in our book. It's never too late to begin again. Julia Cameron, Discovering Creativity and Meaning at Midlife and Beyond. So it's been a week. How about you? I'd love to hear how your weeks went and how you navigated through last week, which was reigniting a sense of humility. And I love that one. That one was awesome. I definitely got a lot out of last week, especially because I was going through such a rough patch. And it's not really a patch, it's more like a year and a half or more. But it's been like a snowball effect of some things going on that have been really hard to work through. And going through this book at this exact time has been really rather meaningful. So this week, week 7, reigniting a sense of resilience. What she talks about is this week we delve into held beliefs about a higher power and explore simple paths to spiritual alignment. Practicing self-care, moving ourselves forward, but not too quickly. Counting on ourselves, but not overburdening ourselves. We are resilient. So I'm not going to get into the whole business on how this whole thing works because I already went through that in every video so far at the very beginning. But what I do want to say is that the book is about doing morning journaling pages. As much journaling as you can first thing in the morning, then going on a walk and making this a daily habit of taking 20 minutes out of your day to go on a walk of some sort without headphones or a phone or anything like that. And then also answering the questions in the chapter during that week in your journal. And it kind of creates like this, she calls it a memoir, which is just like could be, say, on this all written in this notebook, and then I'll have it at the end of all of the questions and answers that I kind of asked myself throughout the series. And you also, if you want to, this is totally optional, is that you go by the week and you go by your age. So that's the part that I said I wouldn't delve into. If you want to write per age, you can watch one of the other videos. No, I'll just tell you, forget it, because that's it's too complicated. I don't want you to get lost and anyway. But basically what she says is during the 12 weeks, sorry for repeating if you guys are hearing this, going through each week with me, but divide your age by 12. This is the number that you will cover each week. So divide your age by 12. There's 12 chapters in the book. And each week, as we go through it, we answer the questions, the regular questions about now. And then we also delve deep into those years of what age you are to go deeper. And I think it's really important. So there's no sense me skipping out what that point of that is, because those questions create a compilation in your journal of important things that you can look back at, which she calls a memoir. And so, yes, it is important. So sorry about that, you guys. This week, we may discuss things. We're going to discuss things about when she calls being in spiritual alignment. Now that today's crazy. Okay. I'm lucky I even got on here. So don't mind the hair, the crazy. I was changing my office around because I'm trying to be able to keep an eye out the window for a fox that just came and ate all my chickens 2 days ago. So I'm kind of on edge and looking out the window. So if I seem like I'm like looking out there, it's because maybe I spotted something. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's too late, and what was done was done. So I want to get started by just reading out some of the things that I highlighted that made an impression on me. And this also different stuff that we will be discussing. So she says, the benevolent may come to you as guidance, inspiration, synchronicity, and it may appear as a lucky break or a chance encounter. And boy, you guys, I need this. I'm waiting for some synchronicity. I'm definitely open to a lucky break and some inspiration and some of the guidance. So I'm really I enjoyed this week. I say that about every week, but last week I really enjoyed, but this part of this one is quite good. And I think as you go along in life, you just realize those synchronicities as you go already. And a lot of times you just play them off as, oh, that was a coincidence or whatever. And it's not. That's the thing. If we're open and looking and waiting and listening and hearing and seeing for possibilities of different synchronicities and doors opening up, they're there, whether we choose to see them or not. It's all about self-awareness. So that to me is really important. And that's why I like when she discusses this, because I feel that it's super powerful. And I think all of us, but I will definitely speak for myself when I say I usually am good at trusting my gut. And when I don't, I always end up paying for it. And I have done that twice in the last month of not trusting my gut, actually doing the thing kind of so quickly without the self-awareness part even there. And then realizing that I already had told myself I wasn't going to do that, not to do that. Something in me said not to do that, not to go there. And I just, in the day-to-day life, I just did the thing, not even thinking. And that's when you're totally out of alignment and totally out of that personal awareness that you're normally, and when you're rushing. And that's what happened for me as I was rushing and I did something that I normally wouldn't have done, and all hell broke loose. So that wasn't too good. And then you have a lot of guilt and shame around things like that when that happens sometimes. So I definitely have that when all my birds got eaten, because I definitely feel that was my fault. I felt the sign not to let them out. And then I thought, oh, you're a bad chicken mom if you don't let them out. They want to go play. They're chomping at the bit to get out. And something in me says, this is just don't let them out. But I didn't put it together. I just went out and let them out. And within a couple hours, they were all gone. So reading this is super significant to me. So I'm just going to read you a little bit about what Julia talks about here. And in her first title chapter called The Scientific Method, Experiment and Record the Results. And I love this quote by Albert Einstein. The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. I like to kind of stew on that one for a little while. But she goes to say, at this point in your memoir, which is just your journal, people often recall settling into situations and discovering patterns that would become long-term for them. Perhaps they married or had children. Perhaps they made decisions based on the location of their parents or other family members, whether to move closer or farther away. Some of these plans and patterns have been lifelong. Others have changed subtly or drastically by now. But by this point in our memoirs, we can see that we had sufficient life experience to sense what we believed would work for us and to start to build a life that reflected those discoveries. So, going to say that looking back on the period of your life, you can probably think of all the places that you've moved, or maybe you're one of those people that actually lived in the same place your entire life. That would be neat. I only know very few people that have had that happen. And then she goes to talk about this lady named Maggie, who looks back and says she's lived in many places, and she moved all over the place, and basically now she's retired and she has an open schedule for the first time in decades. And a part of her is very focused on not messing it up. But looking back on her own actions, she says she was a little bit inspired by herself about trying to get it right on the first try and follow her own instincts. She'd move around a lot, company by company, but she was resilient. She set up her life, and she said she liked it. When she retired, she was actually stressed out about what to do next because she was stable and not always focused on moving around and doing things. And I'm not going to stay long on this section because I find that the spirituality section is all each to your own, how you interpret it. So the task today is the scientific method. Now there's a few tasks. The first one is, by now you have experimented with many of the tools. What results have you noticed so far? She's referring to your journaling in the morning and your walks and your art estate, which is just going out and doing something fun for yourself, that as the tool. What tool or task have you avoided or been more resistant to? Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's the morning pages, getting up and doing that writing in the morning. Maybe it's going for walks. Maybe the weather is affecting everything. We often resist the thing that would give us the greatest payoff. So that's really important that you think about what you are resisting and what you haven't been doing if you're following along, because that is the thing that gives the greatest payoff. She says, do that thing and record the results. So there's your ticket right now to, if you've been feeling off or not on track, to do the actual thing that you know you need to do. Maybe it's none of this stuff. Maybe it's not journaling. Maybe it's not your walk. Maybe it's just generally in life. What have you been avoiding that you know you need to do and will feel better if you do it? Do that thing. Now, she talks about memoir week 7. So whatever age that you're at in this time period, these are the questions for your journal. And you can pause this and if you want and write these down, or you can just scribble along. It doesn't have to be perfect. None of this is perfect. And at the end with your memoir, you can keep it as something sacred and special, or you can burn it or throw the pages out or recycle it, whatever you want to do. There's no rules. So number 1, describe your major relationships in this period. Where do you live? Do you live in more than one place? And these are the questions that go along with how old you are for each chapter that we talked about. What was a source of humor in your life during this time? Describe one sound that brings you back to this period. Describe one taste from this period. Describe one way you were resilient during this period. And what was your concept of God during this period? Did you have one? Were there experiences or decisions made during this period that are still part of your life today? What was your relationship to exercise during this time, and how does it compare to today? What other memories feel significant to you from this time? At this point in my journey, I had to learn to write sober after a period of doing the opposite. I was told by a mentor of mine that I should let the higher power write through me. At first, this sounded crazy, but when I imagined the force through the green fuse, it was easier to me to imagine this force could perhaps flow right through me and drive the flower of my writing. In these early experiments of my own, I began to develop the set of tools that I would not only teach, but live by. I learned by practice that my creativity flourished when I set my ego aside and allowed myself to write as if I were taking something down rather than thinking something up. I love that, because if you're stuck doing your morning pages or your journaling, the thought of allowing yourself to be taking something down rather than thinking something up, removes that whole barrier of, oh, what am I going to write? I feel blank. I don't have anything good to say. I have nothing to say in there. What do I write? My grocery list, you know? But if you're actually taking something down, you're present, you're acknowledging something, you're looking out the window and being like, there was a beautiful robins are all outside right now trying to find worms. And you can just take notes of your surroundings and take notes of people around you or things they've said, or take notes of your home, or take notes of what you want to do, or things that inspire you instead of thinking something up and being forced to think something up. I think that's really great. Then she says her writing flowed more smoothly after that. So I learned to my ideas flowed more smoothly and ideas bubbled up gently and steadily. And for the first time, I was writing as if I was in a partnership with the higher self, my best self. I love that whole topic of that. So taking something down instead of trying to come up with something. Let's remember that one. I have it highlighted here, but I'm going to write it in here as well, because that's so powerful. You could even put that on a sticky note when you're writing for the mornings or something, when you want to write, or you're caught up in what to write. All I have to do is take something down. All I have to do is take something down. So she says, I have worked with atheists and with people who practice an organized religion. From all my students, morning pages do connect them to something, perhaps a sense of guidance, perhaps a greater understanding of themselves. Many times it's both. Some resist trying, saying they don't have time, that they don't see the point. To them, I say the point of morning pages is connection. When we do morning pages, we connect to a higher power, to our best selves, or if you will, God. It's important to realize that morning pages are a sacred time spent communing with the universe. And that's however you see it and whatever beliefs that you have for yourself. So I like the way she says it, that there's no religion based here. It's all on how you express yourself and what you believe. At first, the idea of guidance may seem like wishful thinking or coincidence, but as we practice being receptive, it comes to be a relied part of life. What should I do about my partner's negativity? We may query. The answer may just be, just love him. Don't try to fix him. All prayers are heard and all prayers are answered, although sometimes the answers are subtle. We may be guided in an unexpected direction. We may be in our mind. Have you ever had that moment where you have that feeling and somebody's on your mind? Somebody's just on your mind and you can't get them off of your mind. And to me, I take that as a cue, like, phone this person. You must talk to this person. I don't know what's going on in their life, but maybe they need me, or maybe they need something. Or maybe I need to hear something. I have no idea, but I have found that whenever I've acted upon my instinct, my gut instinct about that, it is like synchronicity, and you may be guided in an unexpected direction. And it's neat to think about if you were to follow it. How many times in your life have you ignored or pushed away those gut instincts or little directions that you get? Probably a lot. I know I have, for sure. But through your morning pages, you can write down those things too and come back to it. Like, so-and-so is on my mind. I wonder if I should call them. Should I send an email? Should I write a real letter? My grandma and I have been doing that back and forth, and it feels so fun to get a handwritten letter in the mail. We have to get back to doing that again. We got off track for a few months, but that was really fun. No matter what the question, her journal pages pointed the way. Try walking, the pages advised her when she complained about being overweight. Try walking, they advised her again when she complained that her ideas seemed flat. Her pages continued to tell her, as you become more active, your ideas will come into focus. You have many ideas, you just need to access them. And so for somebody who's multi-passionate and has tons of ideas, I totally agree with this, that we can get so caught up in all the things that we want to do that it's just paralyzing and we don't do any. But the more that the only antidote to overwhelm and ideas is to take some sort of an action. And so that's a critical point that she's saying as well, that you may have many ideas, that you just need to access them. And so Veronica, obedient to her morning pages, undertook a habit of walking. Sure enough, she found herself feeling more alert, more vibrant, more alive. Her depression lifted as she found herself tapping an unexpected inner resource, as she called it. Whatever she said it is now, I appreciate it. This huge shift in perspective not only lost on Victoria. Although she wouldn't phrase it this way, she is truly experiencing a spiritual awakening, a large psychic change from the negative to the positive. So by doing these little things that your morning pages is telling you and taking those baby steps, like we talked about last week, they can propel you into clarity and direction. Oh no, I'm going to sneeze. Oh, I thought I was going to sneeze there, but I guess I'm not. So the next thing that she talks about is called the exercise investment. Too often we tell ourselves it's too late to exercise. We resign ourselves to a body that is not fit. But doctors tell us it's never too late to exercise. Many communities offer Pilates, yoga classes for all ages. Almost all of us can walk, and walking always also leads to fitness. I have a puppy. I love to walk. I put on gym shoes and she pirouettes with excitement. When I retrieve her leash, she is so happy. She's a young dog and exercise brings her tons of joy. I alternate walking and jogging. One day as I jogged, a raven swooped low over the road ahead. Come on, it seemed to be saying, you can go faster. But I did not want to go faster. I wanted to set a gentle, easy pace, one that I would not be discouraged by. And so we walked 10 paces and then we jogged 20. A gentle pace is all that's called for. I tell myself it's fine to be a fitness beginner. And everybody has to start somewhere. You're always a fitness beginner when you try something new, too. And she says, the other night at the health food store, I bought fresh strawberries and a magazine on running. The magazine was inspirational and it contained tips on how to gently increase your pace and fitness. I read the magazine eagerly. Even though I was a beginner, I already identified myself as a runner. I thought of calling my friend Dick and telling him I had launched into a gentle regime. Dick is 72 years old and has run 6 marathons after the age of 50. He often does 6 or 7 miles just to get the kinks out. Once upon a time, I was a more serious runner. Then, for reasons I can't explain, I stopped running. But going outside and breathing fresh air and allowing our heart rate to be elevated and brings us a sense of accomplishment that we carry throughout the day. And I totally agree with that. I always feel better once I've went for a walk or done some sort of exercise. Some of us, like Dick, are lifelong athletes. Others, like myself, have gone in and out of routine. And that's definitely me, going in and out of routine. I find my favorite things to do and I do them. But I'm also a very outdoors person and always doing stuff outside. So I'm getting lots of steps and exercise. But through the recent health crisis that I've had to really look and give myself a little bit of grace and sensitivity so that I wouldn't put so much pressure on myself to get back to being the way that I expected myself to just perfectly be after going through so much trauma. So that there is a level of grace that you really need to give yourself when you're beginning, and just start with small steps and don't beat yourself up for when you're not perfect, because I have done it. I know how it feels. And it doesn't make any progress. Actually takes all of the goodness of your exercise and work or whatever you've done away. An early morning walk is a blessing for the whole day. Henry David Thoreau. I like that. I love early morning walks, but the bears are out now, so I have to do walking in the house. Sometimes I do go outside with the dogs all day, quite a few times, but I'm not walking as far as I usually want to walk, like we have been in the winter. We've been really doing long walks because we know everything's hibernating. So, making an appointment to meet a friend or a hike or a game of tennis can help us keep our exercise commitment. As we choose the form of exercise that works with us, we must be careful to allow ourselves baby steps towards our goal. 5 minutes a day from 0 is fine. 10 minutes from 5 is a 100% increase. And those who have never exercised will quickly learn that just a little is much more than nothing. And to be encouraged for yourself, just do anything that you can do anything you put your mind to, but you can just take baby steps and be proud of yourself too. So here's the task for the exercise portion. The key to any sustained program lies in doing it one day at a time. Rather than create grandiose goals beyond our reach, it behooves us to commit to one feasible action. What small amount of exercise could you do for today? What could that be? What could you just do for today? Do that thing. That's what she wants you to do. And the reason I am reading a few paragraphs here and there out of this chapters are for people that don't want to buy the book. I wanted to be able to give you kind of a sense of direction on how this is laid out and what we're doing so that you could not have to buy the book. But if you are, awesome. I'm excited for you. Because I mean, I do a lot of highlighting and stuff, and so I go back to that. I like to highlight everything of key and go back to it later. So this is my favorite part of the book, Nature's Gifts, not the book, this chapter. So she goes to say, wild roses alongside a country road, sunflowers and hollyhocks blooming by a wooden fence, tiny violets garlanding a tree trunk. Each detail of creation inspires my own creations. The puppy basking in the sun, the horse grazing in the field, the kitten battling its ball of yarn, all fill me with wonder. On a city street, the Brittany spangled tugging at its owner's leash, the Shar-Pei with its clown's frown, and the pit bull tracking by its neighbor's side enchant me with earth's glories. The pink froth of a cherry tree, the glistening green of a willow, are all, and the gorgeous gold of an aspen catching fire remind me each day I strive to connect to the world. I am gifted with a great bounty. This world is beautiful, and we are intended to love its many delights. And I'm such a nature person that I just love this. I just love that saying. Actually, I'm sitting right beside some prints that I made when I was sick and down south near the hospital. I collected all of these leaves. I was trying to do something that would make me feel more grounded. And I didn't know what that was because I had been in the hospital for so many months that I just needed that feeling of groundedness. So I went and picked different flowers and pressed them. And when I came home, I found some frames for them and put them together. And it was really grounding for me to try and get myself out of that thinking, spinning mode of being cooped up and not having any control, into being still feeling grounded and appreciating life and nature. We need not spend 8 days alone in nature to connect us to its wonders, although, okay, you can come say hi. Although Brendalin's insight after her bold endeavor is enlightened, my spiritual awareness was heightened by my time in nature. She says, as we strive to make contact with the natural world, we inevitably make contact with the force that helps us create it. When we connect with nature, we have something to share. Our world expands. I truly believe that that's right. Hey, your little mermaid bow is going the wrong way. There you go. There you go, honey. An activity in nature that rewards time well spent in your backyard is gardening, often undertaken by retirees who suddenly have time on their hands. Gardening is fertile with beauty and satisfaction. And I can remember all the years of being in the garden with my grandma and picking carrots and just rinsing them, basically barely rinsing them with the garden hose and eating them straight out of her garden and helping her weed. And those are some of the best memories that I honestly have. And we can do that for our grandchildren too. We can teach them how to help and play with them in the garden. And it's just something that you can do in nature. Even if you have a balcony on your apartment, you can do some small little bit of gardening. Whether your lifestyle allows you to explore the forest, plant a garden. Uh-oh. Okay, false alarm. Okay, so the task now is discovering nature. What can you do in your current environment to appreciate or explore nature? When I lived in the city, collecting pine cones in the park or having fresh flowers in my apartment brought me a sense of connection to nature. When I lived in LA, walks along the ocean provided me a wash of cleansing air. And now in New Mexico, I love the long, dusty roads I explore with my dog, Lily. Some people like to collect leaves or stones. Others like to sit outside, soaking in the sounds of winds and birds. Choose one action you can take and note whether actively connecting to nature makes you feel more in touch with a higher source. I'd love to hear what you guys do. I'd love to hear what your connection is going to be. What thing in nature can you do to explore? I think it's just so grounding and important to not just forget how it is to be connected to the world. One grounding technique that I do when I'm feeling really out of whack is I will go sit under a tree with my back to the tree. And if you haven't tried that before, try it. Sitting just on the ground. If you can be bare feet, that's even better. But I mean, all weather predicting. But sit against a tree, even if you have your coat and your runners on, and just look up and just feel the earth beneath you and the leaves, fluttering in the wind above you and the sky above that. And it just is such a grounding thing to do. When we write morning pages, we are connecting to the universe. We are telling a benevolent something, our needs and goals and desires. It's as if we are in a life raft, bobbing in the sea. When we write out our pages, we send a signal out that tells our precise location and allows us to be rescued. Within a short period of time after we connect to the universe, it contacts us back. We begin to have the experience of synchronicity. We find ourselves increasingly in the right time and place for our wishes to be fulfilled. When I teach and explain this to my students, they first protest that such a concept seems too good to be true. Not wanting to be gullible, they explain, Julia, do you really believe the universe opens doors for us? And I tell them yes. And I ask them not to believe me, but to keep track themselves of all the instances of synchronicity they will encounter once you're looking for it. And that is so true. If you can, when you spot those moments where you say to yourself or your husband or your wife or your kids or just yourself, something neat happens, it's like deja vu, but write it down, because you can look back on that moment and say, that was so interesting. And then you can see what things happened in line after that and to make you where you are right now. That's kind of interesting. Okay, so we are at the end of this week, reigniting a sense of resilience, and we're going to do the weekly check-in. So how many days did you do your morning pages? try and ponder that. I'm sure you know how many days you did. And what was your experience like doing your morning pages? Please leave a comment of any of these questions and write down in your journal if you want. Did you do your artist date? Did you go take yourself on a special date somewhere by yourself, to the bakery, to the library, to the bookstore, to a garden shop, whatever that is for you? And did you discover anything else that you'd like to explore on another day? Did you take your walks, your quiet 20-minute walks? What did you notice along the way? What ahas did you discover this week? I know with my walks that my walks are usually my peace and solitude. And now I'm noticing that my walks are edgy, and I'm not as being self-aware because I am trying to be so aware of other things because the animals are coming out of hibernation. So I thought that was kind of interesting that instead of being more relaxing, they're kind of creating anxiety for me because I need to be paying way more attention to stuff. So that was interesting. It was kind of the opposite. So I have to figure out a way to work around that so that I can still get my walks in. So whether I bring someone or I bring safety things, stuff like that, because I don't want to not be doing my walks. Did you experience any synchronicities this week? What was it? Did it give you a sense of humility or a sense of somehow being guided by a higher power? What did you find in your memoir that you would like to explore fully? How would you like to explore it? And always, if you have a loaded memory that you feel requires further attention and you aren't sure what additional action to take, don't worry about it. Just keep moving forward. And this is the best quote. The world is all gates, all opportunities, strings of tension waiting to be struck. Ralph Waldo Emerson. The world is all gates, all opportunities, strings of tension waiting to be stuck. I thought that was so cool. There's another one in here that's really neat. The universe is full of magic things, patiently waiting for our senses to grow sharper. That's cool. Eden Philpotts. I love that. So there we are at the end of week 7, and we're headed into week 8, which is reigniting a sense of joy. I have already read this one, and it's so fantastic. I really like it. I feel like you're going to love it, and it's just going to bring so much more joy and clarity to your life. And tell me how it's been going through all these weeks so far. What are you realizing? Is anything changing in your life? Are you seeing life in a different way? Are you inspired to do something new? Are you feeling like you're getting closer to figuring out where you feel purposeful now in this time of your life? Are you feeling like you're getting more creativity by digging deeper into this and figuring out who you really are and the true, authentic you, the honest you? I know I have. And it's coming at such a weird time in my life because I have read the Artist's Way, and I answered so many different questions, but yet so many are similar. But just reading it a couple years later in a different place in your life, you're answering the questions totally different. So if you've had significant change in your life, like retired or lost your job or had a chronic illness or some tragedy or trauma, and you want to feel back on track, this book is really powerful for just going through life and being more aware of all your senses and all of the different possibilities available to you. So I hope you had enjoyed week 7. I can't wait to share week 8 with you. It's going to be beautiful because reigniting a sense of joy. I mean, Yes, please. So I will see you soon. Please leave me a comment and tell me how you're doing. Tell me everything. Tell me anything that you've learned from this or doing from this or any like aha moments. I'd love to hear from you. And on that note, I will see you in a week for week 8. Bye, friends.